live. I want to go live. Where am I? Here I am. Hey, welcome everybody. Welcome to 420 Live. I'm your host, Jeff Kravitz. I hope you're having a great day. As you know, today is the last day in July. My show is called 420 Live. You can see it right there. I think I look better animated. I'm actually thinking about animating myself now for the show. The 420 Live animated version is coming soon to you. I hope everybody's had a great week this week. We're on Friday. We've been celebrating MTV's 39th birthday, which is tomorrow on August 1st. 1981 is when the network launched. Today, we are very, very lucky to talk to Alan Hunter. He's an original VJ. He saw it all and, helped it launch. He helped launch that rocket to the moon and even further. So we'll get down just a minute here. Yesterday, this whole week has been great. Coletti and Krim, David Levin with the Uncensored. We got the Unplugged. We got the Uncensored. We hit some VMA stuff. We got Doug Herzog in on Wednesday with fantastic conversation. That just the more I think about talking to Doug and the kind of stuff he talked about, the more I dug that interview. And yesterday, Matt Pinfield, we could have talked for 2 or 3 hours. That guy has such an interesting life and such a great perspective on music and what's happening out there in our world and in our scene. So it's all fun. And as you know, yesterday I took my trip to Asher's Chocolates, and I have the new, the Mazers kids and I got into it. I mean, they're not kids, they're 20 some odd years old now, but they're all like, what's CBD? Anyway, it has CBD in it. I want to tell you how you could get this, because people are like watching me eat it on my Instagram and they're like, all right, how do you get this? And I should really show you what it looks like, because one of the beauties of this bar is that it's a symphony in your mouth. It never stops with surprises. I mean, look at the color. I mean, that's psychedelic. Potato chips, pretzels, raisins, coconut flakes, and mini M&Ms. And CBD. So it tastes amazing. And, you don't get high on CBD, but there's a little bit of nutrient in there. It's good for you. So I want to thank the Asher family, because just the reception, the more I kept thinking about what happened yesterday, going to the chocolate factory and just walking in and seeing this table laid out with these beautiful products. So, I mean, hold on. I think I have a picture here I can actually share with you. But I walk in and they got the caricature poster of me set up on the table and all the ingredients that are inside the bar. And, it's good. It's delicious. And I just love the fact that they've never done anything like this, like just putting the whole kitchen sink into a bar. I want to thank Milk Bar for the inspiration. Their compost cookie is the inspiration for this, because I was like, wow, that'd be really cool in a candy bar. So, yes, the Recklers, everybody. I got half a dozen bars. I've already gone through. We gone through 2. You break them out, and it's a really big piece of chocolate. But if you really take your time and let it melt, and you taste all the different things in it, it's kind of crazy. But if you want to eat it like it's a sandwich, you can just chomp it down too. It's delicious. Anyway, to get the Asher's chocolate bar, I want you to know this is a synergy relationship with myself and Asher's. They are not a paid sponsor of my show. They're just good old friends of mine. And I wanted to be able to give something back to my guests, because they were nice enough to offer to send chocolate. So I thought maybe we'd brand something. So my friend Larry Saltrin came up with that amazing art. And if you go on Asher's website, and they can't technically sell the CBD bars because CBDs, there's all these issues. So when the FDA finally approves it, yes, they can sell. But for now, if you spend $75, you get 20% off if you use the little code there, right there, 420 Live, and they will throw that bar in. This is a half a pound of chocolate right here. This thing's incredible. So I would do it just to get this bar. And like I said yesterday, I went there, I walked around their factory, and then I went in their store. All the chocolate's so fresh and delicious. You'll spend $200 on that website. $75 is easy. What's it like frozen? I don't know, DJ. I'm not eating it frozen. Anyway, enough about the chocolate bar. let's get into the meat and potatoes, why we're here today. You know, many moons ago, I moved to Los Angeles, and you know, I was 19 when MTV launched in 81. And I can't remember. I was in Philly. I was at college. We kind of had cable, I think, at my house. Ventnor, New Jersey was very forward in cable and cable access. And we had all a bunch of local shows and stuff. So we had cable pretty early back growing up down here at the Jersey Shore. But I remember watching MTV and just enamored with it and wanting a piece of it. I wanted my MTV. And it wasn't really a conscious thought. And it wasn't anything I was really had any direction to go after, because there was nothing really to get. You know, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was still in college, and I moved to Los Angeles in 86. And by 87, 88, I met my friend Judiana Tencio, who was a publicist there at MTV. And I started working with MTV, taking photographs at their events. And, you know, it was just all casual to one day. She's like, you want to shoot the VMAs? And I was like, duh, who doesn't want to shoot the VMAs? You're going to let me loose with my camera at the VMAs? So they did. A beautiful relationship was created. I've spent 30 years with them. On Tuesday of next week, I'm going to have all the people from the press department that I worked with over years from media relations, MTV, on the show to come in, tell a couple stories. We'll tell a couple tales about what it was like to all be together and sharing these moments. But I left when I got there, and one of the reasons I got the job was because the second crop of DJ was coming in, and I got a photograph that Judy saw that she wanted, and that's how I created my relationship. But before I got there, there was a legend of the original VJs, and our guest today is Alan Hunter, original VJ and man about town, now on Sirius Radio, and they're getting ready to celebrate the celebration here of MTV's 39th tomorrow on the actual day. So, Alan, you ready? You all ready to go? You ready? Okay, here he comes. Hello, Alan.
Whoa. Wow, you got me so worked up with that CBD chocolate stuff. I had to get me some Pringles.
You know, I'm gonna send you one of these. So look at that. Good. Oh, are those
these are organic, kind of Whole Foodsy kind of stuff, you know.
I love it.
I get Pringles, but I mean, I think you've been doing the THC, man. CBD. That's not what you're doing.
Well, at 420 Live, we're all about the THC, but you know, you can't send that over state lines. That would get me in a lot of trouble. And you know, it's unique. I mean, I think you probably saw it in your life. All of a sudden, things start coming your way, and ideas and opportunities that you never in a million years would be like, wow, I can't believe this is happening to me.
Is that happening to you, Jeff, right now? I love it.
Well, come on. I never thought I'd have a candy bar. Yeah. Oh, look at that.
You were talking about the VMAs, were you?
Yeah.
Look at that stuff, man. There it is right there. It says
with your name on it.
Yeah, man.
You didn't steal like...
No, Mark and I got this the 80s, maybe the last year we were there. We were the last two original VJs, and they bestowed, you know, this little baby, which I've carried around all these years. The little flag has started to come off and falls off all the time. I got to get it resoldered. But the people, when they come into my office or my house or something and they see this, that's all they want to do is go over and touch the moon, man. It's heavy. It's good.
It's unbelievable. So you were the guy, you pushed the button. You launched the rocket pretty much.
I was the mistaken first VJ, and if Mark were on right now, then he would show how pissed off he's been all these years that I was the first guy to show up. You know, per the script that we had been rehearsing for several days prior to the launch on August the 1st, Mark was to start everything off. The rocket blast off, the Buggles do their thing, and then Pat Benatar, and then the VJs are introduced, and Mark says, "Hello, welcome to MTV. I'm Mark Goodman." And then I was the last guy. It goes down the line, and I'm supposed to be the last guy. So if you can imagine back in the days when videotapes were physical, and they were in these little carts, and there was a little machine at the upload center in Long Island that was putting all the videos in a literal physical cart, lining them up. They put in our VJ breaks in these little pieces of 2-inch tape in the cart, and they put them in wrong. And I got slotted in first. So I appeared as the first VJ saying, "And I'm Alan Hunter." And then it went on from there. So as trivia goes, I'm the first VJ to have ever appeared on MTV, as the script goes. And then later, when they packaged the first 24 hours up, or the first couple of hours, they re-edited that. And
cut it.
Anything you see nowadays that says the first few hours of MTV has been edited to have Mark come first, which it should. So.
Right. Mark was more the music guy, right? He had more of the knowledge of the scene.
Oh, he was. Mark was a really hot radio DJ out of Philadelphia, PLJ, and JJ was certainly the one with the most creds, having done what he did in his career before he got the job. So Nina was an actress, and Martha was starting her radio career in New York. But she was an unknown. I was an unknown. I was trying to be an actor in New York, and we got the gig. The rest is sort of history. And here we are 39 damn years later.
And then I was reading about you actually being in a video today. I had no idea that actually happened.
Well, I had been in New York about 9 months. I went to drama school, and I just wanted to be on Broadway. And I was going to auditions. I was in a couple of little movies, and I was in new wave punk rock versions of Shakespeare's Midsummer Night's Dream with David Byrne Talking Heads music. And I got a cattle call to be in a video, which nobody knew what those were really. And it was a David Bowie video. And they hired me just on my good looks, I guess. I was the token white kid in this very diverse cast of dancers in the video for the song Fashion. I was a huge David Bowie fan. To hang around for 3 days in his world, to meet him and to be in a video. What did they
call it? Was it called a music video?
Sure, that was a video. I mean, they probably called them promos at the time. And I did that gig 3 months prior to getting the job at MTV. So MTV was bubbling under, but Bowie didn't do it for MTV necessarily. Look, he had Ashes to Ashes. He was already pretty established. The Top of the Pops over in England, showed a lot of videos. Much music, I think, in Canada was happening at the time. So, America was sort of slow to the game, really. But so when I first got on MTV, Fashion was playing all the time, and I would play the video. And, hey, did you see me in that thing? It was way cool. But where it first played was on Midnight Special. You remember that show?
Oh yeah, sure. That was Wolfman Jack.
Yeah, Wolfman Jack. So when I first saw the video 3 months prior, I stayed up, till midnight and watched the video, and it's like, there I am. It was so cool.
It's something else at that time, because it wasn't something that happened to people a lot. You weren't seeing just people hanging out, or you weren't even seeing a lot of music videos. I remember I went to film school, so I was really loving the whole thing. Was just so sexy to me, the way they were cutting them and the way they looked. So
in the beginning, some of them were just seriously terrible. I mean,
right.
There was no sophistication. The Brits had a better handle on the cinema of videos, more so than we did. Our rock and roll bands would either just show some live footage, or they'd do dopey REO Speedwagon videos that were the worst concept and tech going. But you had the Brits were beyond us. Duran Duran came out of the box with really high concept and cool videos, because they just knew the brand, the visual was something they had a vocabulary for before American acts. But so when we came on, we had 150 videos in the library. That's why you saw 8 Rod Stewart videos and 7 from Pat Benatar.
Yeah.
We had Charlie Daniels in those early days.
Yeah, someone told me the other day he was the first live concert at MTV.
Yeah, Charlie frickin' Daniels on MTV in the beginning.
Rest in peace, by the way. Recently departed.
I love the man. My story about Charlie is that 1, he's a fellow Southerner, and 2, he taught me how to chew tobacco. On camera for MTV, we went and I did a little bit prior to that concert, and he gave me a little pinch between my cheek and gum, and I almost puked on camera. So
that's disgusting, right?
He's a sweet guy.
Yeah. Not good. Yes. Not good politics.
We're not talking politics here, but
I actually want to get into it a little bit, because I saw your Twitter a little bit. I saw a little bit of your Twitter today, and I loved it. I mean, you're right on the money. Of course, we're watching a fiasco, but it's hard not to say something. Because
look, it is, and I separate what I do for SiriusXM and playing 80s songs and music and rock and roll from politics. Every so often I'll say something just very slight on air, just like I'll say the word liberal, or hey, maybe we can tolerate people a little better, and I'll get 15 emails from some Joe's out there going,
you know what I do?
pansy ass. You know,
here's my trick. I put that link at the bottom of the page because headcount.org is registering people to vote and informing them of who's coming up. They've taken over kind of where Rock the Vote.
Yeah, good on you, man. Voting is all there is to it. November, we just got to vote, and everything now between now and then is just noise. As appalled as we all are about the state of things, the obvious thing to do is to vote what is ailing us out.
So do you do everything at your house for your show on Sirius?
I do. The beauty of Sirius is that we need a Mac and a microphone and the internet. I never did radio at all before MTV, so I wasn't into the whole thing. When I got the gig about, I guess it's 14 years now, no one really knew what satellite radio was. And I kept getting phone calls at my office. I had a film company at the time, and I got calls from this guy named Kid Kelly from Sirius Radio. I want you to give me a call. I want to talk about radio. I get calls all the time from radio shows that want me to be on their shows talking about MTV. So I didn't call him back, and a guy from MTV, Steve Leeds, who you may or may not know. Steve was in with Rick Krim and all the people you mentioned, our exec producer buddies. But Steve called me up, who worked at Sirius, and said, Al, you got to call Kid back. He wants to talk to you about doing the show on Sirius. I went, oh, the satellite radio thing. Oh, yeah. Okay. So I called him back, and, the rest is history. So I said, well, I can't go to New York. I'm living in Alabama now with a film company. I got a business. And they said, no, you do it from your home. You just record the breaks. So I sat the first few months struggling with just a microphone staring at me, having to come up with things to say. I said, I use my hands too much, and I have a lot of facial expressions. I need TV, not just a mic.
Well, you had a face for TV, which is why you got the gig. A lot of guys on radio don't have that face, which is why they stay on radio.
I think that's why I was the last guy to be hired. They had searched for a year, just thousands of people. Mostly they started with radio personalities, and then they realized that radio personalities weren't always fit for camera. And so then they went to the rockers. I mean, Kevin Cronin was asked to be a VJ.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was. He said, I got a call, I auditioned, and then it was like, no, I got a band. So obviously Bob Pittman, my story is Bob Pittman, who's the brainchild, one of behind the whole thing, met me at a park party, a Central Park party. I was born and raised in Alabama, went to school in Mississippi, and they had a way up north of Mississippi party. Every state has a party in New York for the people that are living there, for expats and that sort of thing. So I went to this party. Bob Pittman is from Mississippi, and his family knew my wife's family. I was introduced to him. He was wearing a jacket, like a suit jacket, in the middle of a June day in New York, hot as hell. Had his sidekick John Sykes with him. Had no idea what he was talking about when he said, "Yeah, I'm working on a new cable show for American Express and Warner Brothers. We're going to do music stuff, and we're going to show videos." And I was like, "Oh, funny enough, I was just in a David Bowie video." So I know what videos are, but what do you mean? Some guy's going to be playing records in front of a camera or something? He couldn't explain it to me. I walked away saying I'm an actor trying to get on Broadway. And a couple of days later, I got the call from Sue Steinberg, the executive producer, who said, Bob bumped into you and thinks you should come in and audition. They didn't, the name wasn't MTV at the time. It was the Music Channel or Music One. They had 8 different names for it.
Right.
So I went in and did 3 miserable auditions over about a week's period of time, each one successively worse. Kept coming back home going, no way in the hell they're hiring me, but they keep asking me back. And they hired me. I think they were desperate. They had 3 weeks to go before August the 1st. Martha Quinn got hired, and I got hired like 2 days later, and we were the last ones to come on board. And I guess they just figured we have our 5th VJ. If we need to get rid of them in a couple of months, at least we got the thing started. So
yeah, we'll get it going and see how he does.
I worked out. I like to say I won the most improved award.
Well, in the beginning, everything was scripted and teleprompter, but then you were winging it, right?
Yeah. Well, it was all just an amazing grand experiment. I think what people don't realize is how seat of the pants the whole operation was. there was a good bit of money, but not a lot of money to put this whole show on. You know, $25 million or so to put an entire new cable system on. And the only people that knew what they were doing were the crew guys at the television production studio, Teletronics, in the Hell's Kitchen. The camera guys, the set guys, and the prop dude, they were all union, knew how to do a television show. Producers, directors, writers, VJs had no clue. They had never put anything like this on before. So day one, we started reading the teleprompter, and that looked stiff. And Bob Pittman would write a memo and say, forget the teleprompter, throw it away, just have them ad lib. And so I would struggle through ad libs, and we'd make our way
well,
through
if you're
it.
not a guy that knows how to be in front of a mic, and all of a sudden you're in front of a mic, and all of a sudden they're saying, okay, make shit up.
Yeah, no, they said, just be yourself and talk about the music. And I was like, dude, I need a script. I just got through doing Midsummer Night's Dream in the Lower East Side. So with a slight English accent, I'm an actor. But so it was painful for me. It was easier for Mark and JJ. I think Martha was a natural. She was so cute, and Nina was sexy. So I struggled for a couple of months, coming home every day thinking, I'm done. They're going to fire me any day now. And this is a great job, and I want to get another apartment soon. But it was almost overnight. I remember feeling stiff and trying to relate to this impassionate camera screen that just sat and stared at you. And the producers would try to laugh and energize the set. The camera guys were our friends, and they would try to push me along. But I was sweating bullets, like, oh my God, I'm failing here. And a producer who was with me in the break room during a break, I was cutting jokes and having fun like I do. And she said, that's what I need to see on camera, is you having fun. So we went out to the set, and I did a cartwheel or jumped into the camera frame or messed with the visual image of a guy not sitting straight and stiff like an anchorman, which was what we were doing, was rock and roll and crazy wild videos. Why not be nuts? So I did that and immediately felt freer just in my physical body. And then I started cracking jokes and having fun. And then the information about the music came much easier. And overnight I said, oh, that's what I got to do. So, 6 months into the game, I got a new contract. The powers that be, a guy named Tom Freston and Les Garland and Bob Pittman, had me into their office and said, look, we think you're going to make it. And we want to renew your contract and kind of, stagger you, give you more money. And they did the same with Martha Quinn. At that point, we didn't know they were staggering our contracts, which is a good corporate thing to do. But I got it, and it worked, and I had the system at that point. Didn't mean I was good.
How informed were you on the music you were playing in the bands?
Well, it was going back to college for me. Certainly, I wasn't into the rock and roll, to say a Def Leppard or all the members of a particular band, Whitesnake or whatever. So I had to have a 3-ring binder. All of us had our the music that we loved and were more proficient in.
Right.
To be honest, Martha Quinn and I joke about how we loved Earth, Wind and Fire and the Brothers Johnson, R&B from the 70s, progressive rock like Rush and Emerson, Lake and Palmer, bands we were not playing on MTV.
Right.
So we had to go to school. And back in the day when we didn't have the internet, we had a lot of research assistants that would put together big 3-ring binders of who's who. But the good news is that we were showcasing so many new bands like U2 and Duran Duran and the Stray Cats that nobody knew at all.
Right.
So we were learning new music along with the audience. So it wasn't like I had to be this J.J. Jackson or Mark Goodman knowledgeable about all these older bands.
Right.
Which was good to have that kind of historical knowledge. But as new bands came along, I was getting to know them as well. So, half a year into it, I was up to speed on everything and started to really get comfortable with talking about it. I was a big music lover, loved music.
Yeah, and the music that was very interesting because a lot of the English imports and a lot of the up and start young American bands that were coming out that were part of that punk new wave scene were just so much fun, to see. And
they lent themselves well to what MTV was putting out there. It was an ambient sense of atmosphere, and to have a band like Madness who just did fun videos, or U2 that looked good in front of them, or Duran Duran who did Girls on Film, you know, really, really salacious videos. Those are the kind of things that set parents' hair on fire.
And kids too, young
yeah,
boys.
man, forget it. Yeah, there were a lot of those new wave bands who just really knew how to work it. They knew the value of a promotional film. I mean, it goes back to the Beatles. The Beatles knew how to do promotional films, and it became Hard Day's Night. David Bowie knew how to do that, even though there wasn't a venue here. But people soon understood the beast. The cool thing was that artists were, as MTV in the first few months, Kevin Cronin of REO Speedwagon's got a story, like all of them do, that they used to play a concert, 18,000 people. They'd go out and walk to the bus or walk from the bus to the hotel in that city, and nobody bothered them. You know, you're 8 miles away at a venue and you can kind of see the band and you sort of see the picture on the album cover. But a week after their videos would start playing, they couldn't do that walk anymore. They were all over the place, and they were in the hotel rooms watching MTV to watch their videos. So they were into it just like the audience was into it. It was a novel thing for them to catch their new video and watch others. And they knew Martha Quinn, and they knew J.J. Jackson, and they knew Mark Goodman because they saw us on MTV. We became, you know, almost as famous as they were.
Yeah. When did that happen to you, where you would walk out and you're like, holy shit, I can't do this anymore?
Well, I kept my bartending job. When I was hired at MTV, I was bartending at the Magic Pan on 57th and 6th in Manhattan. And I kept that job about 2 months into my MTV gig. I would bartend at night for a cabaret show. And by day, I'd go in and do MTV. MTV wasn't on in Manhattan. It wasn't on in LA, Chicago. It was not on people's cable systems in major markets. That was the funny part about MTV, is that it was not an overnight success. They were bleeding money for a year because cable people like, MTV, what is this stupid thing? We're not putting it on our cable system. Well, kids in America were going crazy for it and began to do, via the campaign, I Want My MTV, call up your cable company. I want
Armando Gallo.
That's it.
I want my MTV.
That worked. And so then so I could walk around with relative anonymity in Manhattan. But I'm sitting there bartending late at night. Some guy who I'm giving daiquiris to, and he's getting progressively drunker, starts looking at me like this. The whole night he's looking familiar to me, and I didn't even dawn on me that he watched. And he said, "You look like that guy on this new music thing. What's your name? Mark Hunter?"
Mark Hunter.
I said, "That would be Alan Hunter, sir, and you can't have another daiquiri." And the next day I went, "Oh, people are starting to recognize who I am. I don't think I can be a bartender anymore." And I quit my job.
Hey, you would have gotten more tips maybe.
Well, that might have been a novelty thing for me to return to. And I always said, if I ever lose this job, I can always come back to bartending very comfortably.
What a story. I mean, it's just so crazy how kismet happens in your life, and all of a sudden you're on a path and stuff starts coming out of left field.
It was totally a direction change for me. Again, I was going to auditions. I was taking acting lessons. I was auditioning for Broadway musicals, and whether I'd ever have made it or not, I don't know. I don't think I was ever bound to be Robert De Niro as an actor, but that was my goal. And then when this gig got handed to me, I didn't have to think too long about it. It was like, "Oh, you want to pay me steady for a little while? Okay, I'll take a paycheck." So I can be myself in front of the camera eventually.
And also not breaking a sweat, and people catering to you and making sure you're comfortable. And
we didn't know that in the beginning. I will say the reason that all of us had a pretty good level of humility was that, again, because it was seat of the pants, hard scrabble. We didn't get paid tons of money. At least I didn't, and Martha didn't. And so initially it wasn't like we were on a hit sitcom.
Right.
It was an overnight success, and because I think that's why people related to us then and to this day, don't go crazy when they see me or Mark. They feel like we're their friends because we were ubiquitous in their lives. Every day we're on in the background. You're coming and going from your life, and there they are. And we were just everybody's pals. So, for better or for worse, we are burned into people's synapses for the rest of time.
Do you feel like you're stuck in the 80s?
Well, I don't personally, because I've had so many other aspects of my life. I mean, that was 6 years of my life. It's
Yeah, but now
certainly
your job, you're aid on the 80s. That's
sure.
serious, right? So your
Well,
music.
so much has stemmed from that. The only reason I'm talking to you is because I had that gig, and it was an unusually focused kind of celebrity. We're not Tom Cruise, and we're not movie stars. But we are part of history in a way that other people aren't. There was only 5 of us who did what we did. There are a ton of actors that are making lots of money on hit shows and movies, but there was only 5 original VJs. It's kind of like being that original cast of Saturday Night Live. I'd rather be the first than, them in the middle, even if they made a lot more money.
Yeah, well, the original cast Saturday Night Live, also epic, right? But
yeah, so
that was life changing when we were kids to see that.
Yeah, it was great. But it was fun to write the handbook. Let me put it that way. It was fun to be the ones who made up how it was done. And what I loved about MTV the most was that it broke all the rules and ever changing, whether it was the graphics or the videos or what we did on camera, or that I would go out and do Spring Break or a new Road Rules or kind of start reality television. That change was the oxygen that we all, lived by and on. I really appreciate that part of it. We were never stale until at the end when it started to get kind of stale, and then they changed.
They had to change.
And then your guard came in, the Adam Currys of the world. And
yes.
Julie Browns.
Right.
But at that point, MTV in '87 started to show remote control and MTV Raps and really great programming, but it was a programming thing, not a video jukebox.
Right.
But
they realized that they had an audience and they wanted to get the advertisers, so they wanted the viewers to stay longer.
All about advertising. They couldn't sell advertising as effectively with just a 24-hour-a-day jukebox. They could sell remote control for 30 minutes. They could sell MTV Raps. They could sell Headbangers Ball. So it was about advertising, but it was an evolution change that I totally agreed with. You can't do that style forever.
No, of course. And if things change, and it's up to you to stay a step ahead of the trends, especially when you're at TV.
Absolutely. And that was their forte. I think they lost their way in the latter part of the 90s, and they're trying to figure out who they are now.
Well, it's kind of hard because when you're groundbreaking music and all of a sudden the format changes. I mean, when you look at the top 10, I mean, this is something I must say on my show every couple of weeks, but you look at the top 10 and 7 out of the top 10 songs are from TikTok artists. So everything's changed. I mean, YouTube wasn't what it was because of TikTok and Instagram. I mean, it's always morphing, and you have to be on what's next. And there's no way when you're making money and you get comfortable that you're thinking about what's next.
Well, alternative has always become mainstream eventually.
Right.
That is the nature of the entertainment beast. What was new and groundbreaking will eventually be the audience will be desensitized to how groundbreaking and new it was, because it won't be new anymore. And that, I'm always good with that kind of evolution. You say, am I stuck in the 80s? No, not at all. I love new music. I have my oldest son is an electronic music artist, and he's always hipping me to new songs and new stuff. I love listening to the Halseys of the world. And, I just think every generation has tons of great music. Those who say, oh, there's no good music anymore, are the same ones who say, there's no good TV, there's no good movies. I say, bullshit. There's just a lot more stuff that you have to weed through.
Yes.
So it's a matter of finding the right kiosk to point you in those directions. And that's either your Facebook page and your friends who hip you to a new song, or a trusted place like Sirius or Spotify or whatever you trust.
Well, you hit it on the head. It's when we have kids. The kids.
Yeah. Well,
vibrant.
I think if you listen to your kids, some parents don't. Some people, look, our parents said Elvis is the devil and all that. When MTV came along, they thought MTV was going to destroy Western civilization. None of that happened. And I think our generation didn't embrace that ethos. It was like, hey, what's new? I mean, on my 80s show and on my Classic Rewind show, I'm always kind of taking a band and saying, hey, have you heard this new group? They sound kind of like, today I was saying the 1975, that is a new band over the past couple of years. We play them on SiriusXM Spectrum or something. I said, they sound kind of like Boy Meets Girl. or Duran Duran, you should check them out. They're really good. So I like to connect the dots to new stuff that's happening, because there is. I love music. I love all sorts of different music.
Oh
so.
yeah, I think Cage the Elephant is probably a band like that too, that embodies that old
Sure.
80s rock, or the even 70s classic rock, like Iggy
Sure.
Pop, and
Well, look, you get an artist like Beck, who's been around now for so long. Beck loves paying homage to lots of different styles and generations. And the synthesizer heavy music that we're hearing, certainly more in the dance kind of world, is all an ode to the 80s. I mean, what Ariana Grande artists nowadays, or Halsey, who are highly produced, they're all using little synth hits from the past. Dua Lipa's got her new songs all have those orchestral disco hits in them.
Right.
And I love her stuff, but it's all got a lot of retro kind of feel and sound to it. So the 80s laid the groundwork for a lot of artists in their music nowadays, if you hear the similarities, which I do.
Well, we wouldn't be anywhere without it. I mean, it definitely influenced everything that we have going on. How did it feel when it all came to an end? I mean, because I'm sure it was at a shock. You already saw the other VJs leaving. It was just you and Mark. Was the writing kind of on the wall at that point? And
it was. I mean, I think that we all probably were amazed that it lasted as long as it did. JJ and Nina were let go year 5. And as soon as they were let go, we all started looking around thinking, maybe the change is about to happen. Mark and I had already begun to kind of look ahead and to see what was happening in Los Angeles. The music business was centric to New York at the time in the 80s, and it started to move to the West Coast. Entertainment, in general, was moving in that direction. So I started getting the agent to start fishing around. When Martha was let go 6 months later, Mark and I went, oh, whoa, well, that's too close. But funny enough, I had 1986, I had done something called, I'd been doing all the spring break shows.
Yes.
And we did a thing called Amuck in America, which was a 30-day road trip. Those were sort of the first reality shows where we took a little home camera and yours truly walked around America futzing with people. And, being literally getting drunk and jumping in the pools and doing wet T-shirt contests and just being generally a court jester for MTV, not being in the studio and not interviewing rockers, but doing that kind of reality show stuff. That was my forte my last year. They re-upped me with a new 3-year contract. So I was kind of the future of what they wanted, not me talent-wise, but just what they wanted was what I was doing. Man in the street stuff, being just a little rude. And so I was looking at a 3-year contract, and at the end of mid 87, Mark and I were looking at each other. We were the only 2 left. Julie Brown had come on board. Catherine Heldman was a VJ who came for a moment. The guard was changing, and we said, we can't be VJs forever. So MTV called up to make sure that I was good with my 3-year extension. And my agent said, no, he's leaving. And they were like, what? Because Mark and I left of our own volition, basically, and said, we're done. I didn't renew my option. And we wanted to find our fortune in Los Angeles. I was ready to move to LA and soak in the sun and get out of New York. And here's to the rest of my career. Yeah.
Well, MTV actually all moved to LA around that time, right?
Yeah, they started to have a headquarters out there. But I wish I'd given it another year. Little did any of us know that when we moved to LA, the writers would go on strike in Los Angeles in 1988, and the entire Hollywood business shut down. So I was ready to go out there and host another show, or do something for Fox or some reality stuff, which there were a lot in the hopper for me to do that. And I just learned to play golf for about a year. It saw my savings dwindle, got real nervous, but it was time. And it was a fabulous job, the best job anybody could have, certainly early in their life. I was 23 when I got the gig, but it started to be just a highly intense job, and I was getting burned out. So it was time to leave. I wouldn't have left any later or any earlier. I might have carried on one more year to bank a little bit more money. And I know there was going to be a strike, but you can't see those things when
you don't see it coming.
Yeah, Mark came back to do more MTV after. Martha was hired again after they fired her. I mean, that was America's Sweetheart that they got rid of, and she came back to do a show a year later. I actually got hired as a freelance guy to go to Russia with Billy Joel in '87. And we did a documentary, and that was kind of my first post MTV gig. And, but you know, it had its moment, it had its time, and it has been a gracious beginning for me for all these years. I haven't lived in it. There've been times when my career has been up and down, had nothing to do with MTV. I had an independent film career and a film company, and had fun doing that for a number of years. And here I'm back on the radio. It's crazy that I'm doing SiriusXM, kind of doing the same thing I did way back when.
Well, they're a fantastic company.
Fun.
Ross Zapin and everybody over there, they're just such professionals, and I love that team. And you know, you were there at Sirius before they joined with the XM part, right?
That's right. Yeah, I was. I will. Yeah, to ballyhoo Sirius, I think that it's a great environment. It's a great place to work. I was just talking to Ross the other day because we were doing a Billy Idol virtual wedding. We got a couple married on Zoom, and Billy and Steve Stevens were the performers, and I was the MC of these two wonderful gentlemen from Knoxville, Tennessee, who won the contest to be married on Zoom on SiriusXM.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was great. Only through the power of a venue like SiriusXM could we do it. It reminded me so much of MTV. It's edgy and, you know, forward thinking. And so it's kind of really cool to be a part of a big company like that. Really.
And interesting, like if you would have got a normal radio job, you would just be in one market, and then it might get syndicated, or maybe Westwood One back in the day was where everybody went.
Yeah, no doubt terrestrial radio, I think, is still, 70% of the market, but they, and no shade to terrestrial at all, I just never was in it. Right. But I'm glad to be at Sirius because I think there's a little bit more protection, a little bit more security. I don't think I'm going to show up one morning to my rock station or my 80s station and have them go, "Oh, we're country and you don't have a job." And how many times have we heard that? So yeah, that model is kind of hurting right now.
Now Sirius and XM and Pandora are all in the same box.
Yeah. Well, that's an interesting collab for sure. That is more of the merger. The merger of the present day is, popular in general for corporations, but that makes sense. The Pandora part of it. I'm still trying to, figure out how to use my Pandora all the time. Is that my choice, or is that AI that just chose that for me? Unfortunately, every time I listen to one 80s song, then I get 50 other 80s on my playlist. It's like, no, I just wanted that one Cyndi Lauper. Thank you.
And then the algorithm just sucks you in.
Yeah. Now I want Brothers Johnson, and then I want Mumford and Sons, and then give me some Head and Heart and some Halsey. And my musical taste are all on shuffle, and I love Luciano Pavarotti, the Beatles, Zeppelin, 80s, nowadays, Coldplay, U2.
What was your last mass gathering you went to before?
At MTV?
Yeah, we don't know. Before the COVID came and they shut down. What was the last thing you did outside? A show, concert, or?
I had just moved to San Francisco last summer. My wife and two young kids now moved from Chicago. We had been there 6-7 years, and we just moved to San Francisco last year. So I feel like I hadn't even really gotten to know the venues around here. Like I hadn't been to the famous Cow Palace, and I was ready to go to the Fillmore, and I was lining up my shows. I was going to go see Richard Marx at a venue here. And then things shut down, and I haven't been able to see much at all, which really hurts my heart. We're thinking about moving up north into the wine country area, and all of the venues, the famous venues like the Grateful Dead's venue up in above Marin County and Tiburon and all that. One day we'll be able to get around to that. So I don't feel like I had my final show I got to do.
Oh, before next week would have been Outside Lands. I don't know if you had a chance to go last year, but that's in Golden Gate Park. I've shot all those. It's a beautiful festival, and I was kind of hoping we would have an outdoor festival this summer or something to be able to go, but it seems like all the fun keeps getting ruined every time they try to do something. The Chainsmokers last week in the Hamptons was a disaster, PR wise, I guess.
Oh yeah, that's right. So, yeah.
our whole
Well,
world.
it's I heard Irving Azov the other day talking about how nothing's happening until 2021 summer if we're lucky, and he's not putting bands out there in half full venues. That he is only going to do this when it's safe and they can fill the joints. He doesn't want to do any distanced shows. It may be just a financial thing, but he just says, one, I'm going to follow the science and I'm not going to jeopardize anybody's health, and we may not be back to it until summer of next year. So.
Yeah, it's really scary. I mean,
This is when voting in November.
2022.
Voting in November is even more serious. Put it back up again.
Yeah, I am. I should put that little banner up, right?
If we want to get back to our beloved.
I'll tell you the interesting thing about Headcount is that they explain your election and what's happening in your district and what you're voting for and what the people that you're voting for stand for.
Oh, nice. You mean all of the
not just registering to vote, and they go to concerts. They work with artists like Justin Bieber and Ariana Grande and Taylor Swift, going on the road with them and signing up the fans on the road. So it has a lot of the things that Rock the Vote used to have, and a lot of that working with the music business and the synergy. I would really love to see MTV or anybody jump on the youth and try to motivate them like they did with Rock the Vote.
Sure.
But I don't see that happening. I know Rock the Vote still works, but here you go. Rock the Vote, censorship is un-American. Did you ever think the truth?
Do I understand that?
Well, that's part of what Rock the Vote says. Censorship is un-American. That was part of their.
Was that their slug line?
That was. I think that was one of their slug lines. Of censorship is un-American, which it is. Did you ever think that the truth would be so elusive?
God, no. I think I have an academic wife who hangs around a lot of academics who are philosophers and scientists and historians, and they all have been sitting around for the past 3 years going, you don't know what's going to happen. This could happen again. We could be under authoritarian regime and there'll be a coup. And I was like, y'all worrying too much, bunch of academics. And now I'm thinking, well, crap, this is real. It's really happening. I mean, the most recent issues with sending federal troops under the Green Men banner to gas American citizens.
Right.
That has been horrifying. That has been really bad and scary to think about. Well, I thought the institutions in America were going to be stronger and hold better. Don't we all wish that? But they are quickly being degraded, aren't they, by this madman? And I think what scares us the most are all of the enablers. I think that's the biggest issue right now.
It's kind of crazy.
Look, no matter if I disagreed with somebody politically, and this is what we all are understanding, to see them fold their character and their morals and their ethics, I go, that's what surprises me the most. Yes, the truth has little meaning nowadays, but that they're all able to embrace that when just, a few years ago when another president was in office, they were just outraged that the man wore a tan suit. And now it's like head spinning.
Or go back even further, that he got a BJ. That was the biggest thing in the world.
Yes.
He eliminated the deficit. I agree. He did a lot of other things screwed up, but he got a BJ, and that's how they brought him down. And now we have people that have no shame. I mean, that's the interesting thing.
Yeah.
They don't. We all know they're lying, and they go up there and lie and lie and lie. Like watching Bill Barr, watching any of these things. I just can't believe it.
I think what we're not believing is that they're doing it in open public, right in front of us, to our faces. They are gaslighting us. The word hypocrisy has taken on a whole new meaning. But gaslighting, I didn't really understand that word. But just in your face, they're not even trying to hide it anymore. It's like, no, we're doing this.
Have you watched any of the docs, like 13th? Have you seen that doc?
No, 13? No.
Yeah, 13th it's called.
13th.
And it's about the 13th Amendment.
Okay. Yeah.
And it basically explains the whole why we're in the situation racially that we're in. And I watched it. It's about 90 minutes long, and it was a whole education on what happened with the racism, what happened with the black problem in America, and how they created such an issue. And I watched it, and it was stuff we never learned in school. It was stuff nobody teaches in any history, and it's a history of America that's systematic on why we're in the situation we are today. I highly recommend it if you have a little time and you're sitting there with the family, because it showed me stuff that I didn't know, that I knew, and it made me in touch with the people I grew up with in the East Coast that I didn't even realize were racist when I was a kid. You know,
Isn't that
you
funny?
just hear these words, and it would just be part of what you heard.
Well, I think a lot of us are coming to grips with that. We didn't think we were racist. That I thought I was the most liberal guy on the planet, and I have friends from all walks of life. And how dare anybody say I'm not thinking about this? I think I can be open-minded all day long, though, and not think hard enough about how we've gotten here. I'm from the South. My wife reminds me that growing up in Alabama, our textbooks did not teach the right history. I didn't have to know all of the history. I came from a liberal family. My uncle was a minister who fought, side by side with African American ministers in the civil rights struggle. So I came from that liberal progressive background. But heck, I didn't know a whole lot of it.
Wait till you see the 13th. You're going to sit there and go like this.
Look, the silver lining here is that things may get destroyed a little bit, but maybe it is a wake up call. No doubt about it, that all of us good feeling liberals are getting a punch in the gut. And what can we do about it? What can we do about it? I can't march every day. I can't talk about it too much in between Duran Duran and U2. But I can tweet like hell, and I can go vote, and I can register others to vote, and I can care. I think caring about it and trying to educate those who just don't seem to be very smart about things. But again, it's smart people that your friends who are supporting still people who are supporting lies.
Yeah, because everybody's trying to hold on to what they have because everybody's so flipping greedy. It just blows my mind. Ooh, anyway, I love it because you're so informed and, we all understand it, what's going on. And we could talk this out to death.
Oh, I got something to show you. This is something that's been in my life here. This is our new puppy. And he came to us just a couple of months ago.
What kind of dog is that?
He is a little terrier mix of some sort. We got him at a foster home, and he's about 4 months old.
What's his name?
His name is Astro.
Astro. His ears went up. I love it.
He's a companion to his little 40-pound friend down there. So, it was a pandemic purchase. We needed another animal in our lives.
Isn't that the best? I love our dog. Has gotten so much attention.
Speaking of documentaries, there's a good one that you probably heard of. I Want My MTV.
I did see it. Rick Grimm sent me a copy of it, and it's amazing. Amazing.
It is. Even for me, it was an education. I didn't know a lot of things. I knew that the executives at MTV were having a lot more fun than we were up in the offices and at parties.
Garland.
They were the ones partying like rock stars while we did our jobs. But and Les, by the way, probably one of the biggest mentions up there. He was one of our favorite execs because he's a human. He partied, he had fun, but he's a nice guy as well. And we always loved Les. We loved Les. So funny.
It was serious work. The documentary. When's it? Do you know when it's coming out?
Yeah. I'm sorry. A&E Network on the 9th of September.
Okay.
So it's been making the festival round. I've been to probably 6 or 7 festivals with it to screen and do Q&A. The last one was in Napa when I first moved up here, the Napa Film Festival. And A&E is finally airing it.
It's a great watch. And like you said, I learned so much. Yeah. And it was great because I watched it at the beginning of the week and then I'm all loaded with how things went down. It's very interesting to watch because it gives me the perspective of what it was like when I was back there. Let's divert a little bit and talk about the celebration you're doing on Sirius for MTV's 39th. What do you have tomorrow?
I've been joking on air that next year will be the real big, anniversary, number 40, and I'm hoping that SiriusXM will spend unlimited money on partying with the VJs because they're kind of like Sirius.
They need to fly you somewhere to do it.
They're like MTV. They're very frugal with the money, and I joke that we spend the SiriusXM subscriber money wisely. We don't fly VJs in Learjets everywhere. But so next year will be the big party. But for the 39th,
will MTV ever turn 40?
Well, they're not a
39.
they're not a backwards looking company. They're not doing anything.
Right.
There's nothing formal planned, and I'm not gonna foot the bill for a big party. My wife is her academic work is in digital technologies and theatrical performances and experiential things like augmented reality.
Oh,
And
that's
she
great.
is working with the New York Public Library and other entities to put on an experiential MTV thing for the 40th anniversary next year. Details are still being hammered out, but I think it'll be incumbent upon other entities beyond MTV to celebrate the 40th. It might just be all of us that work there getting together via Zoom and having a party in New York when we can all get together live again. I'll be there. I'm going to do that.
I'd love
So
it.
tomorrow on SiriusXM, I'm playing the first hour's worth of songs and just kind of reminiscing about it. Mark was on vacation this past week, so we kind of just barely got it together. Around 3 o'clock tomorrow on Channel 8, I will play down and throw down some memories.
That's
with,
great.
The Buggles and Pat Benatar and Ariel Speedwagon and the
Rod
like.
Stewart.
and Cliff Richard and a band called PhD and Robin somebody and what was in the charters. There was a few bands in the beginning that was like, who are they? And then where did they go?
Yeah.
That's all
well,
right.
MTV broke a lot of one-hit wonders.
It was the perfect venue for that. Sometimes, look, that people say one-hit wonders, maybe they were more prevalent during the MTV years. And it's like, no, there've always been bands
all the time
who only have one in them. They had one radio hit, one video. And a video could never prop up, usually, a bad song. People were like, video killed the radio star. Nah, it's got to be a good song. A video maybe made it get on and maybe last a little bit longer, but if the song sucked and you couldn't sing it, the video was
gone after a while.
Something like that.
Well, I'm glad you're still here, and I really appreciate you coming out and talking with us today.
Oh, it's fun, dude. It was fun.
I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, you're a delight, and anybody, we're all in the MTV family, and it's Martha and I were talking about this earlier. And when I do these 80s events, the cruises or the 80s in the Sand events, which sadly have been postponed a year, but the people that come to those by the thousands, 80s are big in the past couple of years. I don't know if you know that or not.
Oh, yeah.
But and we feel like we're the circus ringmasters, just kind of getting them all together for camp week. They all get to relive those times in their lives that meant something to them. And we're all like MTV alum. We're all like campers. We went to MTV High, as it were.
Very high.
If you're an alum of MTV High and you work there and you call me up or write me, I'll do whatever you want me to do.
Well,
I'll go
thank you. Thank you very much. It was great talking to you. I look forward to seeing you in person at some point.
Someday it's going to be a non-virtual hug.
I love it. Thank you, Alan. Have a great day.
You take it easy, my brother.
All right. See you later. There you go. Alan Hunter. That was amazing. What a talk. And, it's just great to be able to get in to people's brains and to be able to pick away like that. That was really, really, really fun. And thank you guys for the week of MTV celebration, MTV's 39th birthday. And like Alan says, they don't really have, they're not really celebrating themselves. It's a different era there. I heard they're trying to put the VMAs together for the end of August. We'll see how that goes and what happens and all that stuff. But for now, we'll be back. Actually, I'm going to be back on Monday. Yes, Monday with Kevin Mazur. I'm in his house right now. Thank you, Kevin, for the hospitality. I'm in his office with my own signage, and we appreciate it. It's nice to be out here on Long Island and enjoying it, seeing my friends that I haven't seen in so long. It's absolutely incredible to see everybody face to face and spend some time. Usually I don't love seeing Kevin Mazur at an event because it means he's taking pictures that he's going to scoop me. And now I'm like, yo, Mazur, what's up? Anyway, peace, love, happiness to everybody out there. Here's the hug. Oh, I crack my back when I do that. Thank you all. Have a great night. Like I said, Monday, Mazur. Tuesday, we're going to one more MTV show. I can't promise it's going to be one more as I touch base with more and more of these people. And you want the chocolate bar? Do you want the chocolate bar? Spend $75 at Asher and use that 420 live code. And Solo Pipe, all my friends, and we hit a lot on head count today. which was really good stuff. We love our friends at Headcount. Everybody out there, we will see you tomorrow. Have a great night. Signing